It's not about how much you make, it's about how you manage what you make. That's one of the key lessons I learned during my journey as a real estate investor, and also being around high net worth individuals. Whether you're earning $50,000 or $10 million, the basic strategies used by the top 1% to grow and protect their wealth can be applied by anyone in any scenario. And so in this video, I'm going to reveal the 15-65-20 rule, a simple proven approach that can help you safely manage your money like a financial expert. These are simply the beginning guidelines to start you on the right path. The top 1%, including myself, do a lot more things than just this, like real estate and private equity, to name the huge ones. When you eventually build massive wealth from starting at the bottom, your main goal becomes preserving your wealth while still growing your wealth. That's why I love real estate above any other strategy, if you are good at it. It's a great way to avoid overtaxation, and it's a real tangible asset that makes sense for me. These are all advanced options that I can make future videos on. If that interests you, leave a comment. But let's get into the basics of this simple method. It starts with the most important part, which is the 15%. That's how much of every dollar you make that should be reserved and put aside for yourself. This is where long-term security really begins, and you are doing this for two really important reasons. Reason one is peace of mind. Imagine you're going about your day when suddenly you get a flat tire, a surprise medical bill, or an urgent family emergency happens without a solid emergency fund or a cash cushion in place. You are not just worried about the surprise that has just come up. You are now also worried about how you are going to pay for it. And a lot of people don't have this cushion. They use their credit card as a way to cover these expenses when they come up, and they then compound that interest for the credit card companies. This will quickly derail your finances and send you into a tailspin. But not if you have that 50% cushion in place. Start by building a quick access solution fund, enough to cover 1 month of essential expenses. This is your first line of defense against that life's little surprises, and 1 month's worth of living expenses isn't as much as you think it might be. It doesn't include that Netflix subscription you have or any other discretionary spending that you make. It just covers your core costs, things like your rent, mortgage, groceries, transportation, and utility bills. From there, work your way up to 3 to 6 months worth of your core expenses. This emergency cushion gives you that ultimate peace of mind, knowing that if something major happens, like a job loss, a health scare, or an unexpected crisis, you are still covered and you won't have to go into debt to handle it. The security of just having those 3 to 6 months of essential expenses saved up means you can focus on dealing with the emergency itself rather than stressing about how to pay for it. The second reason to save that 15% is to make your money work for you. And you don't need to be a financial expert to start doing this. And in fact, you might already be doing it without even realizing it. It's called compound interest. This is what Einstein meant when he called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. The longer you let your money work for you, the more dramatically it can multiply. It's like a runaway train with your returns, earning even more returns on top of those returns. So where do you start? You have a few options. First, if you're contributing to your workplace retirement plan, then you've already started this process. The employer match is essentially free money. Your organization will contribute an extra dollar for every dollar you put in, up to a certain limit. So for example, say you make $50,000 per year and there's a 5% match. That means for every dollar you contribute, up to $2,500, your employer will also contribute. But you also want to do a really important thing, and that is to make sure that you are contributing enough to max out the match that is offered. That's a really great way to supercharge your savings, since your contributions are made pre-tax and the money grows tax-free until withdrawal. Secondly, say you're an entrepreneur or self-made, or you want to invest extra on top of your workplace match. Let's talk about tax-advantaged accounts. In the US, it's called a Roth IRA. These accounts allow your investments to grow completely tax-free. That means no taxes on the dividends, no taxes on the capital gains the government gives you. These special accounts as an incentive to save and invest for the long run. But bear in mind that money you use to invest in, it has already been taxed because it comes from the money you earn from your paycheck. So that is after you pay taxes on it. So again, you pay tax at the start, not at the end. Whereas for the workplace retirement plan, I just mentioned earlier, you pay tax at the end and not at the start. The key is to max out all of these tax advantage accounts first before moving on to regular tax-free investment accounts. Now, I know you might be thinking, okay, I know what account I need. Now, what do I invest in? The secret is to keep it super simple with ETF funds. This is essentially just a way to track the overall stock market. These funds automatically diversify your money across hundreds of different companies. So you're not putting all your eggs into one basket. And they come with super low fees, which means more of your money gets to work for you. You can open one up with so many platforms now. I personally use Robinhood, but you can use whoever you like. Just do your own research. I'm not telling you to use them. Once you've got those tax advantage accounts set up and you are contributing regularly, you can let those passive funds do their thing. There's no need to constantly tinker or try to beat the market. Just set it and forget it. It's literally the lazy person's path to wealth, and it's a strategy used by the world's most successful investors. Now let's talk about the 65%. That's the portion of every dollar that should go towards your fundamental expenses. This is where the basics live. Things like the rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, and any other must-haves that keep life running smoothly. This is the trickiest part because these expenses have a sneaky way of ballooning out of control. But you know how it goes. This is a majority of everyone's biggest problem in the beginning that keeps you in that forever hamster wheel. You get a raise and suddenly that old apartment feels too small, or you decide to upgrade your car, and what seems like progress can actually backfire when those upgrades come with higher rent and maintenance or insurance costs. Your expenses will grow to match your income unless you fight them off, and that's where setting a firm limit on your fundamental expenses makes all the difference. The 65% cap keeps your core expenses in check so that you aren't scrambling just to cover the basics like so many are. And I'm not going to lie, this is in many cases harder said than done, of course. That's why so many people do it, especially if you're living in an expensive city. And according to the Office for National Statistics of Housing, this is the largest spending category, representing about 19% of the total weekly expenditure. So that 19% includes things like rent or mortgage, interest payments, and utility bills. The second largest category is transportation, which makes up approximately, I believe it's 14% of household spending, and that includes things like vehicle purchases, maintenance, fuel, and public transport. Have a look at your own spending. Write down what your biggest spending categories are. Once you know where your money is currently going, you can then look for ways to optimize the biggest costs. You can negotiate a better deal on your rent maybe. Can you swap that daily commute for a more affordable option? It's not about cutting out the little joys in your life. It's about finding ways to keep the big, unavoidable costs under control. Giving your budget more breathing space for the fun things in life. And that last 20% is where the fun begins, literally. A really powerful idea, which I absolutely love, and it's that the ultimate goal isn't to die with a massive bank account. It's to die with a ton of assets that continue to pay out and grow and take care of your future family. that, by the way, you didn't spoil them with, but taught how to preserve and grow those assets for even more future generations after that. But it's also to use your money to create a rich and fulfilling life. The 1% know the secret. They intentionally make room in their budgets for guilt-free enjoyment. And so should you, because all work and no play is a surefire path to burnout. And studies show that people who give themselves a little flexibility in their budgets are far more likely to stick to their financial goals over the long haul. It's kind of like going on a strict diet. If you never allow yourself a cheat meal, eventually you're going to break and binge hard most of the times. That same principle applies to money. Now, you might be thinking, won't that derail my savings and investments? Not at all. In fact, probably the opposite. You don't carve out a portion for guilt-free spending, you are much more likely to then overspend down the road. Or even worse, give up on your savings and investments entirely. That's why the 15-65-20 rule recommends using 20% of your income for fun, enjoyment, and personal fulfillment. In fact, you can even reframe this to 20% as an investment in yourself by making sure you stay motivated, balanced, and energized. You're actually increasing the odds of sticking to your long-term financial plans. So in practice, this can mean treating yourself out to an exceptionally nice dinner once a month maybe, or finally pulling the trigger on a new item that you've been eyeing, or even planning a really fun getaway with friends, or whatever it is that makes you tickle with joy inside. The key is to give yourself permission to enjoy 20% of your income without feelings of guilt or shame. So those are my top tips on managing your money like the 1%. The 15-65-20 rule. It's simple. If you found this video useful, I appreciate if you could take a second to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.